Devam Sarasatim Vyasam Tito Jodire Nishta Prayasho Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Utamashuki Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Nishta Prayash Saram Tukam Karamita Dravi Samyutam Pibata Bhagatam Rashamariam Mahora Hora Sikabhuvi Bhagaham Krishna Swadamapagate Dharmagini Shaha Karonashta Dishamasha Paranako Dinoditam Twamapi adabhishita vishutam vivu samyapyadena vidam vidvexaram prakyahidahor mahoraditadmanam sanklesham nirvadam sandin anyatam anarto pashamam shakshad bhakti yogamana lokashidana chakra satvada samitam atmanamastamuni nigranti abhi urukunvanye korvandya piriyadita buddhim ganahari Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinu Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Mandir Matirgati Matsava Shaparam Boja Radhanar Madhanar Mohanam Sriman Rasarasaram Bivam Sivada Karsan Vinish and Urga Gopinata Sriyasarham Divyad Vrindaranyaka Padrumada Srimad Ratnagara Shimasanasto Sri Sirada Shida Govinadir Prasalabihi Savimanish Marami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chajikari Taya Krishnaya Gopinaya Namo Namaham Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Gudhajaja Mangalam Paridikaksho Mangalaya Tanohari Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Vidmahi Vishnu Padni Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastabhyam Namastibhyam Sari Sari Hari Priya Namastibhyam Namastabhyam Dhanade Taptakanchana Gorangi Radhi Vindavaneshwari Vishavanasute Devi Pranamani Hari Priya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesa Sanyavadi Paskadate Sanani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning one and all, Transcendental Tuesday. Lilavati and Balavachandra Das. Everybody's so happy for you. Formerly Dr. Brent. I don't know if you're back in the area physically or not, but Brent is faithfully on the Facebook comment section. This is Transcendental Tuesday, and we title our talk or discussion, The Lord Has No Material Qualities. The verse is, the two verses are the 8th and 9th verse in the 3rd chapter, the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Navidyate yasha na janma karma. There's going to be a list of 6 things, which are qualities, but not referring to the Lord. These refer to us, the conditioned souls. They refer to great sages. They refer to yogis. They refer to demigods. Everybody is subject to these 6 qualities except Krishna and Krishna's plenary portions like Lord Vishnu, Matsya, Kurma, Rama, and so on and so forth. Now, vidite yasha na janma, no birth for Krishna, no karma, no karma, no karmic reaction for Krishna, no nama, Krishna's name is not ordinary, no rupa, Krishna's form is not ordinary, Krishna's qualities, he has qualities, it's not that he has no qualities. It's not that he's impersonal, but he has spiritual qualities, he's transcendental qualities, and dosha, he has no faults. There's a listing here in this verse of 6 things that do not pertain to Krishna. Tatapi logo payaya shambhavaya shomaya tani anukalam vichati. Translation, the Supreme Personality of God has no material birth, activities, name, form, qualities, or faults. To fulfill the purpose for which this world is created and destroyed, that purpose, of course, is to provide a temporary accommodation for those souls who want to leave the material spiritual world and see what it's like to muck about in the material world. He creates this alternative universes to accommodate the souls who are in self-exile from the eternal spiritual world. And then he enters into this world for the purpose of reclaiming the fallen conditioned souls. It's a shame that we put Krishna all this trouble. If there were no souls deviating from Krishna, there would be no need for the material world, and there would be no need for Krishna to come here. But Krishna doesn't complain that on our accounts, he has to take so much trouble to create an alternative world, to enter in myriad incarnations into this world, and to try and like get through our thick heads that this world is not our home, and try to encourage us to go back home, back to God. And in all of that, there's no force, there's no actual coercion or pressure. Lord wants us to come back of our own free will. Otherwise, if we come back grudgingly, if we think, well, I'm back, Lord, I'm 90% sure this is where I should be, but I still have 10% things that I was wondering about in the material world. I still have unfinished business. Krishna doesn't want us to have any unfinished business in this material when we go back home, back to Godhead. He wants us to be thoroughly purified, thoroughly well adjusted, to have our perspective thoroughly on the spiritual platform. And so for that reason, he attracts us in the beautiful form of Rama, the beautiful stories of the Ramayana, Lord Krishna through the Mahabharata. He also travels, crisscrosses the earth in the form of great saints and sages who recite the epics of Mahabharata and Ramayana, and sing the glories of the Lord, all towards the end of getting us back to where we all started before we deviate. Now, when the Lord comes to this material world, either as Rama or Krishna or Varaha or Kurma, he's not subject to the same conditions that we're subjected. I made a poetic rendition of these two verses, and I hope you don't mind my sharing them with you. I'll post them also on our YouTube page today when I post the video. So here it is. Krishna, the supreme Godhead, no birth, no death, no flaw, no defect, no illusion. In human form, he's the one I respect. Rama, Krishna, avatars descending down low, showing the way, helping the soul to grow. He manifests on this earthly plane to restore dharma again and again and again. He's the supreme Lord, defying comprehension, his actions divine beyond human dimension, saving the devotees, lifting them to the light, annihilating demons, ending their blight. Both achieved liberation at transcendental fate. The devotees join the Lord's abode, the demons enter the impersonal haze. Don't mistake his actions for worldly affairs. He's nirguna, untouched by material snares. His names like Rama and Krishna hold power untold. Chanting them frees the soul, breaks illusion's hold. Ajamil proved it, his story is well known. By uttering Narayan, his spirit was shown. The path to transcendence, escaping the night. So chant Hare Krishna and everything's bright. Though he walks among us in human disguise, don't be fooled by appearances, open your eyes. He's not bound by Maya, this cosmic play. He's the puppet master guiding the way. His form is divine, his name is key to unlocking the truth and setting you free. So rise above the mundane, the fleeting, the fake, embrace the divine, for goodness sake. Somebody gave up some hearts there. I think it was probably Lila. There you find it, paraphrased, a la Caru. The four material qualities which have no pertinence to Krishna. First is birth. Krishna doesn't take birth based on the actions of a previous life. In our previous lives, we made good and bad decisions. We sowed good and bad seeds. Those seeds take some time to fructify, grow, and produce fruits and flowers. The decisions that we made in the last life may not have come to fruition in that life. They may be coming into fruition in this life. So every moment of every day, basically, we're experiencing the reactions to past decisions. We're conditioned and controlled by the seeds that we sowed in the past. Just like a farmer is going to eat the food based on the seeds that he planted. This year, we did a lot of planting this spring, but it seemed like some of the seeds were mislabeled or got messed up. So unlike previous years, we got tons of cucumbers and hardly any zucchinis. In the past, we're cooking zucchinis for weeks at a time, putting 60, 70, 80 4-inch steam table trays of zucchini in the freezer to bring out throughout the year. We've only cooked zucchinis once, and I think that was I just cooked 2 trays last week. That's all the zucchinis we're getting. But cucumbers, oh my God. My Bobby mixes it with spices and yogurt, makes right out of it and freezes it. We have enough right to last until 2050. And we have just a fraction of the zucchinis that we've cooked and stored in the past. So it does matter what seeds you plant. It does matter if you mistake cucumber seeds for zucchini seeds. It does matter. You'll get cucumbers and not zucchinis. You have to distinguish the seed. They have to be properly labeled and properly sorted out and properly put into the ground. If you do it willy-nilly, you're not paying attention to what you do, you're not going to get the crops that you want in the quantities that you want. It's very specific. It's very scientific. There's no wiggle room there. You can't plant a cucumber seed and get a zucchini. It's just not going to happen ever in the history of the world. So you have to be careful in the beginning, because once you've planted that seed, it's going to come out a cucumber. You may not like cucumbers. I'm not crazy about cucumbers. And there's nothing you can do to cook them. They're not going to be ever destined to enter into the hot part of the buffet. Only zucchinis can you do that. So once you plant a cucumber seed, you're pretty much stuck with the cucumbers. You don't have an option to change the cucumbers into zucchinis. You can't fold your hands, go down on your knees and say, Lord, I made a mistake. I planted cucumbers, but I really wanted zucchinis. That's not going to happen. If you didn't take the time and trouble and exercise the due diligence in terms of what seed you planted, you're going to have to live with that decision. So in the same way, karma daiva netrena, material nature, Prabhupada said over and over, is full of stringent laws. There isn't any wiggle room. If you do this, okay, here we go. Now it's time, obviously, for the karma song. Karma's action and reaction. You plant the seed, you face the deed. Whatever you do comes back to you. The law of cause and effect ensures the balance is perfect. Detecting whatever you do, good and bad, it will resurrect. Death is not the end, it's just a bend. Whatever you've done will circle back again. The body may die, but your karma is standing by. You'll be reborn to live and die, continue to suffer and cry. As the aroma follows the flowers, heat pursues the fire, your karma will track you as soon as you leave the funeral pyre. Karma decides how you'll be reborn, comely or scorned, how you'll be straight or deformed, healthy or long or short-lived, animal, human, sheltered or drift. Karma is what makes the world go round, is cause and effect right down there on the ground for those going over and round, up and down, bound by their deeds, drowned by their needs. Is there any purpose to our life on earth? Do we just die and continually take birth? Is there any escape from the pain of coming back again and again and again and again? Well, yeah, because you're not the flesh, you're not the mind, eternal spirit designed in the image of Almighty Divine, assigned to a service sublime, attracted by unselfish action, serving the Lord with dispassion, acting only for his satisfaction, devoted souls achieve extraction for karmic reaction. If you want to burn up your karma, practice dharma, pleasing the Lord, passion by his hand, act according to his plan, and never come back to this material world again. So our present birth and all of its details, within the womb of our mothers, we develop a certain nose, certain ears, certain eyes, certain cellular predisposition. And this is all determined by the seeds that we planted in our last life. By the seeds that we planted in our last life, we'll be so tall, we'll be good looking or not so good looking or ugly. We'll be a male, we'll be a female. We'll live for exactly so many years. We'll have this, and this disease. And we'll have this, and this ability, this and this talent. We'll have so much money. We'll have so much success in this area and failure in this area, all determined. They're coming about as results of seeds that we put in a past life. Karma deva netrena. Every one of our calculations is computed on the level of the demigods. Karma deva netrena. The calculations for this life had been made based on the decisions of a previous life, and we were awarded certain body, certain nose, certain eyes, certain gender, certain location. We were born in a certain continent, a certain region, certain village, certain house, certain parents. Our looks were assigned, our future finances were assigned, our family were assigned, and prior to that, we were assigned to a womb. In that womb, we spent 9 months in that uncomfortably hot, unventilated, airless place, packed upside down on our head with tender, tender skin. We can't even imagine. If our mother ate pungent or spicy or stringent food, we would get a rash all over our body within the womb, unable to appeal to anyone, unable to cry out for, Mom, stop eating those chili peppers. Or if your mother drinks alcohol, that also has a terribly hurtful effect on the tender skin of the child within the womb. So miserable is it, in fact, in the womb. And this doesn't matter whether you're in a rich person's womb or a poor person's womb. There's no difference in the womb, rich or poor. The child, the embryo within the womb, is suffering so much that they lose consciousness from the pains and misery and inconvenience they're experiencing. They lose consciousness, and after some time they regain consciousness, and then shortly again they're overwhelmed by all they have to contend with, being packed up tight within the stomach of the mother. They lose consciousness again. They're regaining consciousness. No sooner do they gain consciousness than they lose consciousness. And they pray during one of these moments of being a little bit more conscious. They say, Lord, but I promise I won't forget you anymore. Lord, please, once I see the light of day, remind me about my own spiritual nature. Remind me about the world I left behind through books, through temples, through deities, through Dikshaguru, through Shikshaguru. We pray, Lord, if you'll just do your part and send me these constant reminders, I will act in such a way in this forthcoming lifetime as to make the right decisions, not to get entangled in the reactions to bad decisions, not to come back. I want to end this, Lord. I couldn't stand to think of being packed up in a womb again. What happens? We take birth, and the Lord does his part. He responds perfectly to our requests. He sends us the devotees out in the streets chanting Hare Krishna, distributing prasadam, distributing books, inviting people to a festival, inviting people back to the temple, to the restaurant, to have prasadam. There are Diksha gurus, there are Siksha gurus. Just look over YouTube, look over the internet. There's any number of talks by any number of qualified gurus. With all the technology that we have nowadays, you can get these things everywhere. There's so many restaurants. There's so many millions of books being distributed in almost every single language. There are temples in every town and village. There are shikshagurus, there are dikshagurus, and they travel profusely. And not only they travel, they're on YouTube, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. The Lord has thrown out a whole net, like a fisherman throws out these vast, elaborate nets to catch as many fish as he can. So Lord has answered each and every one of our prayers. And through the agency of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, started the Sankirtan movement, taken it from India to America, to South America, from Europe to Asia to Africa, spread his net all over the world. Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Prema Vidayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaurachaya. So merciful is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that everywhere you turn, if you're sensitive to it, you can see the presence of Krishna, and you can be reminded of your own spirituality and of your own original home, the spiritual world. Krishna does his part. The problem is we dropped the ball. We, having seen the light of day, put the miseries of the womb behind us once again. We get fawned over by our relatives. We get passed from arm to arm. Uh, we get every single need gets taken care of. Now outside of the womb, we can express ourselves. If we need to be burped, we can communicate that. If we need our mother's breast milk, we can communicate that. If we need our diapers changed, we can communicate that. We've got a little bit more control than we had within the womb, and we're feeling pretty good about that. We're feeling like we're in charge. And in fact, a newborn baby dictates almost every movement of a whole coterie of people. His parents, the grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, even the dogs and cats in the house, everybody sort of stands down and prioritizes the basic animalistic needs of this newly seen the light of day child. So the child is starting to feel like, hey, not so bad after all, maybe I am God, maybe I am in control. And Krishna, as Krishna sends across this newborn child, after newborn, I'm saying could have been thousands or millions of births preceding it. Krishna does his job. He makes available everything that we mentioned beforehand. But now sorry, Lord, I exaggerated, it was hyperbole, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, and I got emotional and Lord, I'll take it from here. Thanks very much. I realize that you did everything that I asked you to do, but I don't think I was in my right mind, after all, how rationally can you think in the womb of mother? But now it seems like everything's going better. If we were to take advantage of the prasadam, the diksha, the shiksha gurus, the temples, the sankirtan, the holy name that do come our way, the good news is that for those who do that, who remember their side of the bargain and engage with the Lord, you can do in 60 years, in the short Kali Yuga lifespan that you have, and you can do in 60 years what it would take in thousands of years to do in previous ages. In the Satyuga age, the golden age of cosmic history, Valmiki, in order to achieve Krishna consciousness, meditated for 60,000 years. But what it took Valmiki 60,000 years to do, it's possible with sincere application, one can achieve Krishna consciousness within 60 years. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The process has been dummied down. Instead of doing yoga and meditation in the forest for tens of thousands of years, instead of doing elaborate deity worship and performing sacrifices at which even the demigods were invited, instead of building temples such as the huge temple complexes in Vijayanagar and places like that, Hampi, one only has to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we go back to Godhead at the end of this lifetime. But we don't think it's important anymore. I can't tell you how many Sunday feast talks I've given in Spanish for the last 40 years, practically given every Sunday feast. That's 50 times 40. What is that? 2,000 Sunday feast talks. They're good talks. They're compelling. They're logical. They're heartfelt. And people have come. They almost always say, wow, I really appreciated that talk. It really got to me. And yet, I honestly don't think that more than a handful of people have taken up the process of chanting Hare Krishna to resolve the problems of birth, death, disease, and old age. They're okay with this embodied state. They're okay with this body, which is a result of the actions of a previous life, and not being diligent, not taking care, even to the present day, of the seeds they're planting. They're destined to take another birth in another body. Just like whoever planted our seeds earlier in the spring didn't take care of the proportion between zucchinis and cucumbers. They just did it willy-nilly. And after having done that, there's nothing you can do to undo it. So people don't think it of any essential importance to chant Hare Krishna, to give up a meat-based diet, to attend the temple, to listen to the saints and sages, glorify the name, form, qualities of the Lord. They think it's okay, it's okay. The status quo in this material is all right. What is the status quo? There's an anacronym. Body, B-O-D-Y. We're okay with this body. But what does this body mean? What does B-O-D-Y mean? B means birth. O means old age. D means disease. And Y stands for, guess what Y stands for? Y stands for Yamaraj. So body, the word body, B-O-D-Y, stands for birth, death, old age, and disease. And we say it's okay. It's okay. We thought it was of utmost importance, of utmost priority when we were suffering within the womb of our mother. But now we've come out and we have reclaimed a little measure of control within this temporary, miserable material world. And we're feeling it's okay. I can live with this. But you can't live with this. You're going to die with this. None of this applies to Krishna. Krishna's birth is not determined by his seeds that he might have planted in a previous life, his family, his location, his body, his duration of lifespan, his level of health or lack of it is not calculated by the demigods based on his actions of a previous life. There's no karma for Krishna. For us, it is karma na deva netrina. The higher beings, they calculate our actions and reactions of previous life, and then they insert us into a certain womb, which is exactly proportionate to the actions that we did in a previous life. But they do not have any such calculations for Krishna, because Krishna does not enter into a womb as a result of past karmic activities. The demigods are not netra for Krishna. They do not direct and dictate where Krishna goes. Krishna is netra for all the demigods. The demigods cannot supervise Krishna because they themselves are supervised by him. Raja Samastishvara, Krishna is described as the king of all the demigods. Now, Sridhar Swami, a commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam, defines karma as activities performed by living beings to fulfill something that they feel they are lacking in. So all of us feel incomplete because we're infinitesimal. We're 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair, a tiny spiritual spark. So naturally we feel incomplete. We feel we're lacking in something. And therefore we engage in activities to achieve more completeness. We do what we do in order to try to reduce the feeling of lack or inadequacy and to increase the feeling of completeness or wholeness. And those activities are defined by Sridhar Swami as karma. Krishna has no need to perform activities to become more full. There's nothing that Krishna is lacking. There's nothing that Krishna needs to achieve. There are no desires that he needs to fulfill. There are no unfulfilled desires on the part of Krishna. Therefore, karma does not apply to Krishna. Neither does janma. Neither karma nor janma apply to Krishna. Krishna is not forced, he's not pushed by the laws of material nature. The laws come from Krishna. The fact that we're subject to the stringent laws, that we take birth in various wombs according to the decisions of our past lives, that whole infrastructure is jump-started originally by Krishna. It's administered by his different plenary portions of demigods and Vishnu and Brahma and Shiva and so on and so forth. But Krishna is the origin from which the whole system comes. And being the origin of the whole system, he's not bound by those laws himself. He's not bound by those laws. He's not assigned to any parents. He's not assigned to any location. He's not assigned to any particular lifespan or any level of health. He's completely transcendental to all of that. And especially, he does not have to appear from a womb. Someone says, well, what about Devaki? He appeared from Devaki's womb. Well, he chose to enter first Vasudeva's mind, like we mentioned yesterday. Then he was transferred through Vasudeva's mind into the womb of Devaki. And then he emerged from Devaki, not through the vaginal channel, being pushed out by an explosive burst of air, covered in blood, crying, having to be cleaned up and slapped on the back. No, none of that happened. First of all, let's remember that Krishna is within every atom. He can appear anywhere. He can appear from here, he can appear from here, he can appear from here, and he can appear from here, and he can also appear from Devaki's womb. But did he appear in the way that we appear? After being packed up there 9 months upside down, affected by the foods that his mother ate, tender body being pinched by all kinds of parasites and little worms and things like that? No, no. Did he appear naked, all bloody? No, he appeared fully garbed with armor and a crown and earrings and forearms with gada, club, shankha, conch shell, padma, lotus flower, and chakra. He appeared fully decorated. What ordinary baby, subject to the laws of karma and laws of birth, appears with full garments and full decorations? Ram did the same thing. Ram did the same thing. So Krishna's appearance is called avirbhava, not ordinary. It's transcendental. He doesn't appear forced through a womb as a result of his previous karma. He appears like the sun. Sun appears on the horizon. It's completely separate from the earth. The earth depends upon the sun. Sun doesn't have to come through the agency of the earth. The earth exists due to the agency of the sun itself. So the appearance of the sun on the eastern horizon every day, and it disappears on the western horizon, there's no way that's generated by anything that's going on this earth. This tiny little orb called Earth has nothing to do with the appearance or disappearance of the sun. The sun is not conditioned in any way by atmospheric conditions on the earth. It's completely separate. So when Krishna appears from the womb of his mother, Devaki, or when Ram appears from the womb of his mother, Kaushalya, there's no comparison to our appearances from the womb of our mothers and fathers. And another point about the appearance of the Lord is he does so out of his mercy for his devotees. He's not forced to appear. He's not in any way obliged to appear, but because of his compassion and because of the promise he made to us in the womb of our mothers, he appears in various incarnations, in various avatars, for the pleasure of his devotees. He doesn't appear as the son of Devaki, he appears as the savior of Devaki. Now, this brings us to the next point, which is that he has no material name. He has no material karma, no material activities, and no material birth. He also has no material name. We don't have a name when we're born. Parents go through a little list, names, and they talk about, shall we name him or her Susan or Sally or Shirley? Should we name him Tom or Dick or Seymour? If you're Indian, you have different options, names there. And they just kind of just pick a name, something that sounds good, or maybe it's the name of a father or grandfather, iconic figure in their past. And so, when the body comes out, they give the name. In India, they don't say the name right away. And they have a name giving ceremony 11 or 13 days after birth. And the priest and the father collaborate and they say the name, they announce the name. Otherwise, they consider it's bad luck to say out loud the name before this official name giving ceremony. But the body comes and they give it a name. And then that name is how the body's referred to for 60 or 70 years, and then the body's cremated, and then there's no more point of reference. We don't use the name to refer to the body anymore because the body's gone. The body's just become ashes. When Garga Muni came to perform the name-giving ceremony of Krishna, Nanda Maharaj asked him to pick a name. They were observing the traditional rituals, and they hadn't given a name to Krishna yet. And it's just because out of love, Nanda and Yashoda were thinking of Krishna as an ordinary boy. And so they asked Garga Muni on the day of the name-giving ceremony, 11 or 13 days after, can you pick out a name for Krishna? And Garga Muni says he already has so many names. He already has so many forms, and all of his names are eternal, and all of his forms are eternal. We have a name based on this body, which lasts for 60 or 70 years, and then the body goes away, the name goes away. But Krishna, his names are ever existing because his bodies don't come and go. The sun may appear to come on the eastern horizon in the morning. It may appear to go on the western horizon, but it's always there. That's only due to our limited vision that we say the sun rises and sets. It does no such thing. So similarly, Krishna's names, bodies don't come and go. He simply appears and disappears from our vision into and out of our vision. But our vision doesn't determine the appearance and disappearance of Krishna's bodies. His bodies, Rama's bodies, Vishnu's bodies are eternal, and they have their eternal abodes in the spiritual world. And as their bodies are eternal, their names are also eternal. It's not that their names are given at their appearance and take away after their departure. It's like you'd name the sun, you give the sun a name every morning when you see it on the horizon. And then the next day you think it's another sun and you give it another name. That's not the case. We always, however many times the sun comes up on the eastern horizon, we always call it the sun. Or if you're French, you call it soleil, or if you're Spanish, you call it sol. But it's always the same sun. So it's always the same Nishringa, it's always the same Parasuram, it's always the same Ram, it's always the same Krishna. So the name doesn't change. Therefore, Krishna's name is not material, like our name. So we talked about the birth being not material, the karma being not material, the name being not material. So that's half of the 6 items. The 6 items, if you'll recall, we'll go back here, are birth, karma, name, and rupa. Rupa, form and name is kind of together. That's just what we talked about. So we'll talk a little bit more tomorrow about the form being non-material, and then talk about the guna, the qualities, being spiritual, and then Krishna not having any doshas. Let me just recap here with our own rendition of the verse, and then we'll go to your comments on the sidebar here in Facebook. So here is how we rephrase this 8th and 9th verses, these 8th and 9th verses from the 3rd chapter of the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is supreme Godhead, no birth, no death, no flaw, no defect, no illusion. In human form, he's the one I respect. Rama, Krishna, avatars descending down low, showing the way, helping the soul to grow. He manifests on this earthly plane to restore dharma again and again. He's the Supreme Lord, defying comprehension, his actions divine, beyond human dimensions, saving the devotees, lifting them to the light, annihilating demons, ending their blight. Both achieve liberation at transcendental fate. The devotee joins the Lord's abode, the demon enters the impersonal haze. Don't mistake his actions for worldly affairs. He's near guna, untouched by material snares. His names, like Ram and Krishna, hold power untold. Chanted them frees the soul, breaks illusion's hold. Ajamil proved it, his story's well known. By uttering Narayan, his spirit was shown the path to transcendence, escaping the night. So chant Hare Krishna and everything's bright. Though he walks among us in human disguise, don't be fooled by appearances, open your eyes. He's not bound by Maya, this cosmic plays, the puppet master guiding the way. His form is divine, his name is key to unlocking the truth and setting you free. So rise above the mundane, the fleeting, the fake, embrace the divine for goodness sake. So this is the Krishna, what is it called? What someone said is the Krishna early morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday Poets Society. So let's see if our newly initiated Balabhachandra has risen to the call here. Yes, he has. Here's what he has offered this morning. It matters what you plant. You can't so easily change your mind and recant. You reap what you sow. Don't settle for the status quo. Make sure the right seeds grow. The calculations were made in your last life. You can't blame anyone else for your fortune or strife, but you can't escape the gloom of the womb by finding a self-realized sage on YouTube. Oh, you're becoming quite the comedian. Is this something that's awakened as a result of your initiation? I haven't known you to be quite so comical before. All kinds of qualities have been awakened, I think, by the touch of the great Vaisheshika. I don't think I've ever laughed so much or been so tickled by any of your creations before. Let's just run that past once more. It matters what you plant. You can't so easily change your mind and recant. You reap what you sow. Don't settle for the status quo. Make sure the right seeds grow. The calculations were made in your last life. You can't blame anyone else for your fortune or your strife, but you can't escape the gloom of the womb by finding a self-realized sage on YouTube or Zoom. I think that's even funnier when you read it a second time. Well, thank you so much for that chuckle there, transcendental chuckle, for joining us. Balava Chandra, everybody say Hari Bol to Balava Chandra Das, disciple of Vaisheshika Guru. Good morning, Lilavati. Thanks for your hearts and your enthusiasm. My Bhavi. My Bhavi knows exactly what I'm talking about with the cucumber and the zucchini discussion. We're like, where are all these cucumbers coming from? Who messed up? Who mixed up the seeds? Who mislabeled everybody? But it served its purpose. It gave us a good point of reference for this morning's discussion. We're also joined by Patricia. We enjoyed so much your recent visit, and I'm sure Bhaskar, if he were able to speak, he would wax eloquent. He would tell you how much he loved your taking the trouble to come and see him and how much he's looking forward to your next visit as well. Sundari Priya, thanks for joining us as well. This has been Transcendental Tuesday, and we'll discuss more about how Krishna doesn't have mundane guna, mundane qualities, nor does he suffer from mundane doshas, shortcomings, or faults. All that tomorrow on Wisdom Wednesday. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.